You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It is great to be with you here on this brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. I'm excited to take you through a 5-part process that I've taught to thousands of people, and I've used myself in my own life time and time again. And what it will help you to do is take you from wherever you're at right now, whether it be a point of suffering in terms of relationships or health or your body or spirituality or your career. And it will begin to enable you to move forward in life. Most of us, wherever we're at right now, there's some part of our being, there's some part of ourselves and our lives that we want to take to that next level. This is the system to use in order to get there. Now, you can call it by different names. Maybe you heard about it in different ways, but this is one concrete system that you can put into place in order to move yourself forward. And you might even be at step 2 right now, or level 2, or maybe it's level 3, and you'll find out what the next step is in order for you to then take that next step, that next level, so that as you move forward, so does your life. But we need to get you on the direct path to success, because a lot of people, they don't know the path, or the path is dimly lit, because they don't have that candle, they don't have that light in order to illuminate the path that they need to walk down. So on today's show, I'm going to take you very straightforward, very plain, very simple, very actionable on what you need to do. Now, it is my thought and my hope that you don't just listen to the information today, that you start with this first step that we're going to get into and literally begin today. Think about step 1 today, and then move forward as quickly as you can within your zone of comfort. Now, I do want you to push yourself, but not so fast that you can't stick with it. So let's start right away with step 1. Let's get into step 1, and then I want you to move through these 5 steps in your own way, in your own time, but ideally as quickly as possible. And I'll give you tips along the way on how to do just that. So the very first tip I want to take you through, or the very first step is this. At some point, we all need to draw a line in the sand. So many years ago, this was, I would say, somewhere in my early 20s, like 20 years old, 19, 20, 21 years old, somewhere right around there. It's all a blur during those years. And it was literally a giant rain cloud just, over my head. Well, there was one night, and I've shared this story before, where I'm just up late at night. I'm a complete insomniac. I can't sleep. It's probably been weeks since I really got a night's sleep. And I knew that this was one of those nights where I just wasn't going to fall asleep. Now, back then, I didn't know how to fix these things. I wish that I did, right? I wish that I did. But of course, it led me to where I am today, so I'm grateful. And it's the way that I choose to look at it. And I invite most people to look at their life in the same way. That you learn so much, not from your victories, but typically from all of your micro failures. Because in the long run, we know that you will succeed. So there's really no failures, but there's a lot of learning and growing along the way. That night, broke down, just, so upset, so unhappy, completely depressed. And I didn't see a way out. And it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. I realized how I was acting and how upset I was and all of that, and I didn't want to be that way anymore. I didn't know a way out. Don't get me wrong. I did not know a way out. I did not have the answers. But what I said that night was this, and I'll say it again. I'll repeat it again. I drew a line in the sand. I didn't know it at the time, but I was drawing a line in the sand. I said this. I said, I don't know if I will ever get well. I don't even know if I'll ever fall asleep at night again, because I was tired all day, but I could never sleep at night. the tired and wired. Now we know how to correct that within weeks. But I said to myself, I don't know if I'll ever get well. No doctors are giving me hope. It seems that this is incurable, and I can't sleep. I'm tired all day, and yet I can't sleep at night. It's a fate worse than death, it felt like at the time. And I just said to myself, but no matter what, no matter if I never get well, no matter if I'm sick all the time, I have swollen glands, I have no energy, poor mood, poor outlook, whatever, I said, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to go on with my life. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to go out with my friends. Hey, and if I get sick, I get sick. I'm going to play sports, and if it makes me feel run down, well, then it makes me feel run down. But I'm going to go out there, and I am not going to be a victim to this illness. And, that served me well at the time, and here's what it did. I drew a line in the sand, and I just said, at the time, it was not within my ability to get well. So that was not within my ability. That was not a choice to get well. I wanted to get well. I was seeing lots of doctors, lots of specialists. I was even seeing some alternative doctors at the time. And I use alternative in air quotes always. I do it with a little side smile there. And here's the thing. I still wasn't getting well. Moments, I had glimmers, but I wasn't well. But I did have a choice. I had a choice as to how to perceive my situation and how to go about my life, no matter how tired I was. And that was a huge turning point, the biggest turning point overall in my outlook, my illness, my life, etc. From then on, I just started saying like, hey, I'm going to read some positive books. I'm going to read about self-improvement. If I can't get better, I'm going to make my life as good as it can be. And of course, lo and behold, as I started to come into that mindset, I moved on to certain things, as I'm going to talk about right now in step number 2. But what I want you to do before I give you step number 2 is this. I want you to decide what you're no longer going to be. Now, you know that I always like to phrase things in the positive, without a doubt. Because eventually you have to get there. You have to already see yourself. This is one of the secrets. They don't teach you this in The Secret. And they don't teach you this, in the law of attraction. But you need to already see yourself in the position that you want to be. Super hard to do. Not going to lie to you. Because of all of our conditioning. It gets easier and you can absolutely do it. It just takes practice. It's not going to happen overnight. It took me years. Now, again, you're probably a faster learner than me. So that's a good thing. You're not as stubborn as I was. But I know with all the conditioning, I had to say to myself, okay, you're not pretending. You can be anything you want. Like I don't just keep talking myself through it. And it was every day. Every day, all the time, catch myself. That's why I'm so big on self-awareness. But you have to first understand what you don't want to be. Now, again, before you understand what you want to be, it's easier. We all know, like, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to have bad relationships. I don't want to feel disconnected to the world around me, right? Like, we all know some variation of that. So we know that. Know what you don't want to be anymore. Then figure out what the positive of that is. I want to be in a great relationship. Well, that's good. That's a good first start, right? Most people do. Now you need to start to think about, what does that relationship look like, right? What exactly is a good relationship? What's a great relationship? What's an ideal relationship? What's the best relationship in the world, right? What's the best health for you? Because your version of great health might be different than my version of great health. I'll tell you this, at 18, 19 years old, my version of health was way different than what it is today. Because now I have all the experience of already getting well, knowing what sickness really is. And now my version of health is completely different. Now, it's all about optimization. Like, how far can I take this? And so yours will change too. So, shoot for the stars, but really go after what you want in life. So figure out what you don't want, and then figure out what the positive is of that, all right? But you need to draw a line in the sand at some time, at some point, and say, I'm not going to be this anymore. I'm just not. This is not my life. This is not who I am. I don't want to be this person. And once you say that, that's step 1. That's what you need. Now, step 2 is this. This is what nobody likes to tell you. But again, I really feel this way. On the Cabral concept, I don't hold back. I don't. I give you the information that I found to be true over 20 years, over 250,000 clients' appointments, and with thousands and thousands and thousands of books read so that I can learn from all these other authors and I can pull it all together into one integrative health practice. So when I say this, when I say things, sometimes, People in the back of their mind like, well, that might be true, but I don't want to believe it because I want to believe this is the right diet. And I want to go on eating, red meat 3 times a day. I want to believe that. I want to believe that that's the healthy thing to do because I really like it and I feel good while I'm doing it, right? So here's the thing. I just try to give you what I believe through the research, through real world, and through my own life experience is the truth. And I don't pull any punches, and that's this. If you want a different life, there has to be some type of exchange. I believe that the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, will give you anything that you want. But there's always an exchange. There's what we call a law of reciprocity. What are you giving before you receive? What are you willing to trade before you get what you want? You have to give something. Usually, you just have to give something up. So people come into my practice all the time, whether it's the body transformation practice, whether it's the functional medicine, integrative health practice, doesn't matter. But let's say one person comes in for joint pain, the other person comes in because they're 20 pounds overweight and they want to lose the 20 pounds. This person wants to get rid of the joint pains. Two people that I'm thinking about right in my mind right now. That's why I said it, okay? Now, one person's not overweight, but they have joint pain. Another person's overweight, no joint pain. But each of these people, the one missing thing to get to their goal, because they're optimized besides this, the one missing thing to get to their goal is that they drink alcohol 2 drinks to 3 drinks, 4 nights to 5 nights per week. And how do I know that this is what they need to trade, that this is what they need to exchange to lose the 20 pounds or to get rid of the joint pain? It's because I had them do a 21-day, no alcohol sabbatical. I've talked about this on a previous Mindset and Motivation Monday, and I do hope you tune into the previous shows. So what I did was this. I said, I don't need you for the rest of your life. I just want 3 weeks. I say that to everybody. I just want 21 days. That's it. I only need 21 days. That's the truth, because I'll be able to see so much happens to the body within 21 days. If you do the equilibrium detox for 21 days, if you do a true elimination, you're going to see those results. You really are. And it's life-changing. So I had them do it. Well, the person who drank alcohol 4 to 5 nights a week, who had to lose the weight, in 21 days, they lost 13 and a half pounds. Almost, I would say, closer to 15. It would just fluctuate a little bit that last week. But they had lost all the way to 15. Now, that's only in 3 weeks. I know we could get them the rest of the way. That's 21 days. Of course we can get the rest of the way, right? Easy. No problem. Because we say after you lose the initial weight, we look for 1% weight loss a week after that. Well, okay, if the person weighs 150, 160 pounds, 1.5, because they need to lose, let's say, another 6 pounds, well, they lose 1.5 pounds per week. It's only going to take another month, right? Then they've lost that extra 5 pounds. Easy. They don't have to cut out the alcohol completely, but they can't drink it 4 to 5 nights a week. Same with the other person. Joint pain in the fingers, in the wrists. What do? Took out alcohol. Their life changed immensely. Their sleep got better. Their joint pain went away after about 10 days. They started to have renewed energy. Their skin looked cleaner, like it was glowing. And again, what do? They only change one thing. I only asked for one variable change. Do this. They did it. They cut out the alcohol because they were already eating pretty well. That made the difference for them. That is the exchange. Were they willing to keep that exchange going? That depends on how much of a priority your goal is. One person did, one person didn't. They're adults. It is not my place to scold them or tell them they can't do a certain thing. One person felt like they were missing out on social activities by not drinking. I told them, you can go out with your friends and have a good time without drinking each of those nights after work. You can have what I call, my non-alcoholic, I don't call this, but it's my fun drink. That's what it is. Go out, soda water, splash of cranberry, lots of lime. I only drink it when I'm out. So that's why it's like a specialty, because I never drink that at home, because I never have cranberry juice. I just never have juice in the house. So, and it's just a splash, but it makes me feel like, I'm out. This is my drink. It's fun. And again, do I have alcohol? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. And I've already given you my reasons why. I did an interview actually with Melissa Ambrosini on this. We did an hour topic on it. It's not condemning anyone. If I go out and have a good time, and let's say I decide to have a drink, I don't want people judging me. If I go out and I'm not drinking and my friends are, I don't judge them. It's nobody's place to judge another person. It's their decision. But if you want to lose the weight, you want the joint pain, for these two people, that was the answer. Both kept doing it for a while. One decided that they didn't want to give up. They wanted the joint pain over the other. The other person put their drinking at once a week. That was a smart way to do it. Now they get the weight loss and they get to enjoy their alcohol still 1 day a week. So that's the trade. You need to think about this. I mean, you really do. It's like with the relationships. What does your spouse, partner, significant other really dislike that you're doing right now? Does it mean that much to you that you need to keep it going? Could you eliminate that one thing if this is the one thing that would make your relationship so much better? I say that to my wife all the time. I was like, I really don't hold anything in such high regard that if it makes you upset, I have to keep doing it. There's nothing that I could think of. And there really isn't. I mean, I've just made that commitment that I know that I'm far from a perfect person. I mean, I really am. So I just say like, hey, if I'm messing up, something going on, just let me know. I mean, because I'm in my own head a lot of the time. I really am. I walk around my own world. And so that's what I say. It's like, hey, I know something's going on. What's going on? And it's easy because I just say that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that, right? So we all can do that. But remember, you have to just be open to it. Really, really important to look at. Here's the last point about this. What in your life is the thing that you think is holding you back from taking that next step? What's the trade that you're going to have to make? And some people don't want to make the trade. I get it. I understand. You can look for a way around it, but usually we all know, but we don't want to admit it, and we don't want to do it because we kind of like it. And it will require maybe more effort. But the truth is, it's only more effort in the beginning. And the other truth of it is this: you're not happy, right? So you're doing the thing, but it's not making you happy. At least try it out. I always tell people, like, try it out. That's the 21 days. Try it out. See what happens. Allow it to grow in you. You just might not need it anymore. That's the truth. All right, number 3 is this. We need to do things that as we're going for this, I just call it a new normal, we need to do things that creates that. So, for example, I was young, early 20s, and in college, I was working with people right away on nutrition. From 18 years old, I was working with people on nutrition. Because when I got sick, I just dove into books. I've talked about that before. And so, was I like the world's leading expert? No. But after you read a couple dozen books in a field, you just know more than the average person. And I tell people that all the time. So it was enough for me to help a lot of people with that. And I got into personal training, and I've told that before because I couldn't get the inner me well. So what I wanted to do was change the exterior. Plus, I couldn't play sports anymore. I had no energy in my body. But I could do a set that lasted 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So I got into exercise. I loved it, right? It was great. So I said, hey, this is amazing. I want to learn all I can because I'm an obsessive type personality. So I want to learn everything I can about it. And I want to teach it to others. But of course, during that time, when you first start out on anything, you kind of have that imposter syndrome, right? You're like, oh, look at these people. They're personal trainers. They've been doing this for like 10 years. I don't know what they know. I shouldn't really be working with clients. They shouldn't be paying me, like any of these things. So you need to start to change that mindset. This goes for anything. If you want to lose weight, you're like, well, I've been overweight my whole life. My whole family's overweight. My friends are overweight. I really shouldn't lose the weight. You kind of get stuck in this, this not helping you, right? But it's your old normal. It's your current normal. It's your comfort zone, even though you're not comfortable. But it's what you're used to. So you need to actually normalize where you want to get to. So what I tell people to do is this. Listen to podcasts on loop. Listen to audiobooks around what you want to achieve on loop. Read the books. Listen to the books. Watch the videos on it. So you're getting all of the senses and stimuli on the body through different inputs, and it begins to reprogram your mind. And that's what I did. So again, couldn't fix the body, needed to reprogram the mind. People are like, how did you get into mindset? How did you get into psychology? How did you get into this? I started reading college textbooks in psychology when I was not a psychology major because I needed to figure out why my brain wasn't working properly. That was a big thing. And it very much interested me. But then I went into, okay, what are the other fields of psychology and the mind that aren't really taught in school? Because there's so many great things that just isn't taught in your average, curriculum. I'm not the hugest fan of how we even teach our kids and children in school and young adults. We need to get a better way. There really has to be. It's not applicable in the real world. And it doesn't even make a lot of sense with the memorization or regurgitation. We need to do it in case study formats. That's the best way to do it. It really is. And so I was fortunate enough to, again, learn this and go through it. But what I did was this, on loop, listening to Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, everybody, just on loop. I used to order from this company. What was the name of the company? Nightingale Conant. And it was just all mindset over and over and over on loop, right? To the point where I could recite what they were about to say next. And I would walk and I would listen to it. And back then I would take the train from Rhode Island to Boston every day for work. And it would just be on loop, on loop, on loop. And I'd be reading and it was just getting absorbed in. What I was doing, I didn't know it at the time, but I was literally rewiring my brain. I was changing my psychology. I was changing my programming. I was changing my programming from something of scarcity in health, scarcity of relationships, scarcity of body transformation, scarcity of finances and career, and scarcity of overall spirituality, of being judged all the time, right? I had to reprogram all of that. It took a little bit of time, but I did it. And I did it by creating a new normal. So I didn't have any friends that were talking about this, couldn't afford to go to any high-level seminars, but what I could do was purchase $10 books, $15 books, $30, what were they back then, CDs. I could do that. I could walk around. I could listen to this. It was easy. And that's what I did. But it's also, as they say, and I did a podcast on this, on the slight edge, it's also easy not to do, which is why oftentimes we don't do it. It does take effort. It takes effort to literally just order it and then press the play button. Or order it and set aside the time to read. It's easy, but it's also easy not to do. But you have to start to ingrain it into the brain. That's step 3. Number 4 is this. You need to eventually make a clear investment in whatever it is that you want to achieve. Your mind, your body, your psychology, your physiology, it needs to know that you mean business. So that is this. If you want to get well, you can't just stop. You have to stop reading articles on the internet and doing what they say. You either need to follow the exact protocols in a book, follow the exact protocols of a supplement protocol, run a lab test. If you're trying to get well, hire a integrative health practitioner, whatever it might be. But you need to make that step. If you're looking to improve your relationships, read a book on improving your relationships and then go out and actually do that. Better yet, go to a seminar where you may be role-playing if you're looking to improve your overall spirituality. Go to a seminar. Go to a different church. Go to a place where you can make that commitment and invest not just money, but also time, energy, commitment. Invest in yourself by investing in whatever that goal is. If you want to lose weight, you have to invest the time in going to the gym or invest the time in some home gym equipment. If you know yourself and know that you will find any excuse in the book not to work out, then you need to invest in a personal trainer. You need to invest in something that tells your mind, oh, he or she is serious. They mean business. Okay, we'll begin to change. This is crucial. I missed out on this step for a long time. Yeah, I invested in the books and the CDs, but they were small investments. And then eventually, I invested in greater and deeper things, right? Mentors and coaches and seminars and certifications and all of those things. I invested in them. And it was great for me because when I went to events and I went to certifications, or again, it would be nice if I had some of these online groups that we have today, I would have met more people and be like, hey, they're a lot like me. Or, hey, look at that person in real life achieving these things. I'd like to achieve those things, right? All of that was possible. When I started to meet with a few doctors, And they're like, I've helped people like you. You've helped people like me. Wait, you've even seen someone else like me? That gave me hope. But I made the investment already to meet with them. And that was a big thing. The last part is this. You have to pay it forward. Every day at the end of the podcast, I typically say this. If this podcast has helped you in any way, I would appreciate it if you'd share it with one other person or a few other people if you'd like. And that's a good step because it means, hey, this is something I found valuable. I think you'll find it valuable too. And then maybe your friend or family member will talk with you about it. And that will allow you then to kind of peel back another layer of the onion, to go deeper on it. But another way to pay it forward is also to teach it. And that's what I'm getting at with this last step, is that when you begin to share it and teach it, even if it's just with one other person, let's say it's your kids, let's say it's your spouse, let's say it's a coworker, when you teach it, now you can teach it because remember, like even with the Cabral concept, is this episode 1200? That'd be amazing if it was. If it is, and this is that milestone, then you have 1,200 podcasts that you can go back to. They are all free. They're all about 25 minutes long or so. And if you listen to those, you will be an expert on integrative health compared with 99.99% of the population. Most doctors don't even know this information. And that is why you can absolutely and should feel free to teach this to others. Now, let's say your goal was to lose weight. If you lost weight in a healthy way, teach it to others. What if you are doing better in your relationships? Teach it to someone that might not be doing as well. Same with spirituality and same with career. Teach it to someone else. You never know how it may change their life. But here's the other reason why I state it. Is because when you share it with someone else, when you pay it forward, you actually begin to deepen your own knowledge. I find that every time I do a podcast, every time I do a video, every time I do a seminar and I teach on a topic, my depth of knowledge on that goes up. And the reason is this. As I'm teaching it, I have to say it in a way that makes sense to other people besides just myself. So I have to think of other ways to phrase it. This enables me to make new connections in my brain. And when I do that, I get it at an even deeper level. So when I do a podcast, I'm trying to share this message with millions of other people. But the truth is this. Every Motivation and Mindset Monday, as well as the other shows, I get more out of it as well. I really do. I learn it at a deeper level because I'm drawing from it. I'm usually looking at all of the books in my library. And I'm just drawing from all of the wisdom of all of these authors. And I'm thinking about trips that I've been on, schooling, all of these things. And I'm pulling it together and I'm making different synaptic-based connections in my brain. And that's a real thing. We know that. All of these things have been proven through science, through psychology. And that's why I invite you today to really walk through these 5 steps, to use them, to draw that line in the sand of who you are no longer going to be and what type of life you are stepping into. What's that goal? Then figure out what you need to exchange for it. What's the trade-off? There has to be some type of give and take. Then create a new normal. Rewire that brain through constant repetition. Books, audio, visual, over and over and over. And then make the investment, whatever it is for you and whatever level you're at. So when I was in college, $0, zero money. Always trying to figure out if I could, use my ATM card and money would come out, right? So back then, I could invest in a little bit of supplements and I could invest in a little bit of CDs and books. That was it. Mainly went to the library for the books. And then I could afford more later in life. And you can do the same. And then the last part is this. Once you've gotten at least some of your goal, you're getting there, you're reaching it. And when you've ultimately reached your goal, teach it to others. Pay it forward. Share it with others. You do that, you have mastered the formula for success. Then you can simply move from one goal and then on to the next. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. I thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.